of China Tzu Chi volunteers hold a winter aid distribution in Zhangzhou of Fujian province. We meet Tzu Chi care recipient Ame from Taiwan's Nantou, who donates regularly to help those in greater need. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. First up in China, Tzu Chi volunteers have held winter aid distributions in Zhangzhou of Fujian province since 2009. However, as initially there was a shortage of manpower in the area, local volunteers relied on the assistance and support of Tzu Chi volunteers from other regions. Thankfully, over the past 5 years, Tzu Chi's aid has inspired more and more local residents to join the volunteers' ranks. Being able to execute a relief distribution with perfect harmony was not easy for Zhangzhou Tzu Chi volunteers in the beginning.
We began holding winter relief distribution in Zhangzhou in 2009. We had very few people when we first started out. We had to rely on the assistance of volunteers from Xiamen and Nanjing in order to successfully complete the distribution.
Over these 5 years, the winter aid distributions have impacted volunteers in all sorts of positive ways. Even local government officials say that they too can feel the warmth from the efforts.
From preparations beforehand to actual execution, local volunteers watch and learn. The essence of time brought about changes to people's hearts.
I was a butcher and slaughtered cattle. I had to slaughter dozens of cattle each day. At the time, I didn't know it was a wrongful act. Only when I joined Tzu Chi did I understand that it's not right to kill.
Grandma Wang, a recipient of Tzu Chi's relief for 5 years now, treasures all that she has received from Tzu Chi.
You brought me a quilt in the first year and rice and oil. In the second year, socks, toothpaste, a toothbrush, and some soap.
Volunteers walk the winding mountain paths to personally deliver care to seniors, a gesture that deeply moves Grandpa Zhang. Over the past 5 years, volunteers have spread their love throughout Zhangzhou and will continue to do so in the days and years ahead. Before the Chinese New Year, a relief distribution was held at the Tzu Chi Singapore chapter. During the event, the volunteers not only distributed aid to 244 households, but also celebrated the 100th birthday for a senior. Here's more. Today is this grandma's 100th birthday.
Tzu Chi volunteers give the grandma a fresh look, as today is not only the first day of 2014, but also her 100th birthday. Welcoming in 2014, the Tzu Chi Singapore chapter is holding a gathering at the Jingsi Hall for over 200 care recipients. Despite Lunar New Year still being weeks away, traditional performances help bring the festive atmosphere early to attendees. Donning yellow shirts, volunteers from National Kidney Foundation Singapore put on a performance, hoping to bring joy to many.
Today we are able to contribute a little, so we feel very, very happy, and we feel this event is very meaningful.
At the gathering, Tzu Chi volunteers and care recipients enjoy each other's company as they celebrate Grandma Chen's 100th birthday. Happy birthday to you. Aside from the celebrations, attendees also bring back their bamboo coin banks in hopes of helping more people in the new year.
This donation can help the elderly as well as children.
We were unable to use all the money Tzu Chi gave us, so I gave the unused money back to the Tzu Chi volunteers so they can give it to those who need it more.
Joining in the early Lunar New Year festivities, participants make wishes for the new year and pray for a disaster-free world.
First, may the new year bring health. Second, may the new year bring improvements. Third, Happy New Year.
新年快乐！
Moving to South America, Brazil Tzu Chi volunteers took the opportunity to end 2013 on a good note by visiting the House of David, a charity home for the disabled. To welcome their guests, the residents there put on the musical of cats, taking their audience by storm with their talents.
Located 25 kilometers away from Tzu Chi's Sao Paulo liaison office is the city of Guarulhos and the House of David, which is where Tzu Chi volunteers are heading today. The House of David look after over 300 disabled residents. Volunteers use a smile and a warm handshake to make a good first impression. Another volunteer bends down to tie a patient's shoes. Most patients here suffer from autism, and with the intelligence of a 4-year-old, many have to sleep in cribs and be spoon-fed like a baby. Looking like a grown adult on the outside, these patients are actually still very much like children on the inside and easily find joy in life. The House of David is a charity facility that takes in those with severe needs and thus is in constant need of donations. Tzu Chi brought 18 boxes of food, desserts, and other daily necessities to help. Upon hearing the patients often tear holes in their clothing, volunteers promised to bring a van full of second-hand clothing on their next visit. Volunteers watch an adaptation of the famous musical Cats, the performance giving those who suffer from autism an outlet to express their creativity. Initially, Tzu Chi volunteers were afraid of accidentally being insensitive towards the residents. However, upon meeting them, volunteers realized these patients are open to the world and dosing it. In the end, it was the volunteers who learned a lesson from the day.
In the United States, to celebrate the new year on January 1st, the city of Pasadena in Southern California held an annual tournament of Roses Parade that featured floats, marching bands, and more. Among the float participants this year were China Airlines, as well as Donate Life America, which works with the U.S. Tzu Chi Foundation in promoting organ donations.
Each float coming down the street is colorful, fragrant, and filled with wonder. It's nothing less than spectacular that the world has come to expect from the annual Pasadena Tournament of Roses Parade held in California on January 1st each year. The theme for the Rose Parade this year was Dreams Come True, and with Taiwan Dreams Rising, China Airlines won the International Trophy Award for the 23rd time.
Winner of the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and
Another float worth mentioning was the Donate Life America float, which featured organ donors and recipients. Among those riding on the float was organ recipient Zhang Yangchuan, who is also a Tzu Chi volunteer.
I don't feel alone sitting on the float. I feel the presence of 81 other donors with me. I'm thankful these bodhisattvas donated their organs. I'm filled with gratitude and joy.
My father is a recipient of a kidney. I'm very grateful that someone donated a part of themselves so that my father can continue to live.
The U.S. Tzu Chi Foundation and Donate Life America have worked together on the float for the past 17 years, and the theme this year was Light Up the World, which featured 81 organ donors' portraits. In the audience along the parade route are Lao Jinde's parents, who couldn't be prouder of their son.
It's such an honor.
I am very proud of my son.
My son isn't very far from us. His spirit continues on in our hearts.
Seeing my son's portrait hanging there, it makes me feel he has lived up to his potential. He has formed an affinity with the world.
On the float, each portrait represents the selfless giving of a donor, helping to extend the life of another.
Turning love into great love and letting great love light up the world.
Recently in Taiwan, the fallout from the news that a semiconductor company was dumping its wastewater directly into Kaohsiung's Houjing River has raised public awareness on the problems with wastewater treatment. Today we bring you to the Central Taiwan Science Park to see how another semiconductor company is fulfilling its corporate social responsibility through its comprehensive wastewater treatment system. Let's take a look.
This is Kaohsiung's Houjing River, which was heavily polluted by a semiconductor manufacturer. Semiconductors are a major component in electronic products. However, their production generates various toxic waste, including chemical mechanical polishing wastewater, acidic wastewater, and hydrofluoric acid wastewater.
If hydrofluoric acid wastewater is discharged into rivers, because it is corrosive, it can deteriorate our bones and cause calcium deficiency. The chemical compound will pollute our environment too.
Adding calcium chloride, the toxic hydrofluoric acid, can be neutralized and becomes non-toxic calcium fluoride. Based on this chemical formula, the Winbond Semiconductor Company built its own wastewater treatment system. Despite being neutralized, the wastewater still contains high levels of nitric acid.
This is neutralization tank number 1. We use sodium hydroxide to neutralize acid wastewater so that its pH will reach between 6 to 9, which is the permissible standard for wastewater discharge.
This is the wastewater treatment plant of the Winbond Semiconductor Company. Every day, it can treat up to 4,500 tons of industrial wastewater.
From this before and after comparison, one can see the difference clearly.
Before the treatment, the wastewater contains a lot of suspended solids and is strongly corrosive and toxic. After the treatment, the wastewater is clean and clear.
Winbond spent $23 million to build this treatment plant to ensure the safety of its wastewater.
Other than building our own water treatment system, we also ask a third party to oversee our procedures. They examine our wastewater on a yearly basis.
At the Central Taiwan Science Park, several high-tech companies like Winbond treat their wastewater first before they discharge it into the Science Park's wastewater treatment plant.
We have a biological treatment system, a chemical treatment system, and a filtration unit. Through the bio-treatment process, all the microorganisms and organic matter are decomposed. Next, suspended solids and heavy metals will be dissolved through a chemical treatment process.
The processed industrial wastewater has quality akin to tap water. Later, every 6 hours, inspectors will take water samples.
The water sample will be analyzed by a private laboratory accredited by the EPA.
Through inspections by a third party, the EPA regularly receives the results of our wastewater treatment. I think that's a good way to oversee electronic manufacturers.
Using third parties to check on wastewater conditions helps sure-handed environmental authorities and facilitates the analysis of water quality.
We compare the numbers provided by private organizations with the EPA's results to see if companies are following regulations. Through the comparison, we can clearly see any inconsistencies.
Only through transparent supervision will polluting companies carry out effective wastewater treatment and thus eradicate water pollution for good.
Staying in Taiwan, we meet CTK recipient Mei and her family from Nantou County's Zongliao Township. Mei and her sister both suffers from intellectual disabilities, and their father works odd jobs to support the family. Despite living in hardship, the Zhang family nonetheless makes monthly donations to help the less fortunate.
City volunteers arrive at the Zhang home, bringing snacks and clothing for the Zhang sisters. Mei happily accepts the gifts and does not forget to hand over the family's donation to the City volunteers. Mei's father even left a note extending the family's well wishes for those affected, while hoping that their contributions can help Typhoon Haiyan survivors.
Their lives have been affected by the typhoon and they have no one to turn to, so we want to contribute what we can and send our love.
26-year-old Ame and her sister both suffer from intellectual disabilities and are care recipients of Ciji. The pair often practices recycling at home while their father is away working odd jobs to support the family. Seeing the devastation in the Philippines, Ame's father donated his earnings from harvesting oranges to the Typhoon Haiyan survivors.
Those in the Philippines are in a much more difficult situation than us.
Each time there is a natural disaster or seeing the suffering of others, they always want to contribute.
The family has found a spiritual sense of belonging through watching DaAi TV, and the Jingsi aphorisms on the wall are a reminder for them to be grateful and reciprocate the love they have received. For the Zhang family, despite their material poverty, they enjoy a spiritually enriched life.
At the year-end blessing ceremony held at the Ciji Guandu grounds in Taipei, besides overseas volunteers, the event was also joined by newly certified Ciji Commissioner Chen Lingru, who says Ciji has helped her face life's impermanence with courage.
Holding her certification in hands, this is newly certified Ciji Commissioner Chen Lingru, who promises to shoulder Ciji's missions in the years to come. Chen also says the Dharma has helped her face her husband's illness with an optimistic mindset.
When the pain happens to your family, you will realize how much it hurts. This has made me realize that we need to have sympathy for all living beings.
Also facing the impermanence in life is Ciji volunteer Yan Fangjing, who lost her son to a car accident 2 months ago. Thanks to Master's Dharma, Yan has regained the courage to move on.
I will treat all children with the heart of a mother. Thank you.
After being a member of the Ciji Teacher Association for 18 years, Li Linghui finally decided to become a certified Ciji commissioner.
After listening to Master Zhen Yan say, we are running out of time, I realized that I need to put aside all problems and walk the Ciji path.
Today's year-end blessing ceremony is also participated by Indonesia Ciji volunteer Zhou Peiping and her family. Today, Zhou's son is becoming an honorary board member.
I will cook meatless meals for friends that want to try vegetarian food. My wife is not that ill-tempered anymore. She is nicer to our children and takes good care of our home.
The prisoner delivered a written letter of thanks to Master Zhen Yan. A group of Singapore Ziqings seized the chance to attend the year-end blessing ceremony in Taipei.
Everyone vowed to do their best to spread Ciji far and wide when they return home as a way to express our thanks to the Master.
Thanks to year-end blessing ceremony, every participant is heading home with their heart filled with Dharma joy.
Next, we meet another Ciji volunteer, Zhou Yunbian, who has dedicated himself wholeheartedly to recycling work at the Ciji Zhongli grounds. Though Zhou was previously diagnosed with liver cancer, the volunteer quickly returned to his post following his treatment. His presence can also be found at the recent year-end blessing ceremony in Zhongli.
Walking slowly into the venue is Ciji volunteer Zhou Yunbian, who insisted on attending the year-end blessing ceremony held here at the Ciji Zhongli grounds. During the event, Zhou seized the chance to donate to help those in greater need.
Although he's not feeling well today, he still came to donate his love. He's truly a role model for all of us.
Last year, 78-year-old Zhou Yunbian discovered that he'd had liver cancer. Soon after his treatment, Zhou decided to return to the recycling station to volunteer. Although a successful businessman, 8 years ago, Zhou Yunbian decided to dedicate himself to the local Ciji recycling station. He says sorting through reusable items has become his second career.
He is very old. That's why I feel very bad whenever I see him climbing up and down the stairs. Before he was ill, he always helped us hang things. If he was your own father, you would feel bad too.
We have been volunteering at the recycling station since it was established. Brother Joe unselfishly devotes himself at the station and doesn't talk much. He is like my father.
Over 8 years of volunteering, Joe has created a strong bond with the volunteers at the recycling station. Thus, despite his physical condition, on the date of the year-end blessing ceremony, Joe insisted on visiting his Dharma family.
We feel very bad to see him in this condition.
We told him not to worry about the recycling station and that we will try our best to meet all the jobs that need to be done.
At the end of the year-end blessing ceremony, young volunteers of the Jingsi Books and Cafe surrounded Zhou Yunbian and sing a song to wish him happiness and good health.
In China, among the participants at the year-end blessing ceremony held in Dongguan of Guangdong province was Tzu Chi volunteer Zhang Mei, who was once addicted to gambling. Zhang's bad habit not only caused family conflict, but also damaged her relationships with her children and mother-in-law. After attending the Buddha Day ceremony in 2011, Zhang was inspired to get rid of her bad habit and walk the Tzu Chi path. Here's her story.
Over the last 14 years, Chang'an Township in Dongguan of Guangdong Province has made itself known for China's machinery and telecommunications. However, there is much more to this township than just its well-known industries.
Every 2 weeks, Tzu Chi volunteers practice recycling at the Chang'an Park Pagoda.
80 years in age, this grandmother spends her weekends at this recycling station, which was single-handedly started by her daughter-in-law, Zhang Mei.
We gambled like it was our job. The longest we gambled was for 36 hours straight. At first, my husband could not believe it. He did not believe how someone who loved gambling so much could give it up. But over the years, he saw how I no longer gambled again. Thus, as I changed, he also changed with me. I will never stray from the Tzu Chi path. I will work even harder and be even more devoted. We go back to Taiwan at the end of today's show. Following their trip to Hualien to attend this year's annual Tzu Qing Leadership Training Seminar, a group of Tzu Qings from South Africa visited the Neihu Tzu Chi grounds to get hands-on experience in sorting recyclables. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in to DaAi TV. Goodbye.